Let's talk about the books that I would give 6 stars. If you know me, you know I'm a really harsh critic, so the fact that I've given all of these books 6 stars means that they are top tier. They are books that I want every single person to read. I recommend them over and over again. So the first book is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This book is just, it's my favorite Sally Rooney book. It's written so perfectly. The feeling that this book gives you, it's literally like you have stepped into a friendship group and you are in the mind of the main protagonist in a way that I don't think any other author has been able to create. Sally Rooney just does that so well. You understand why people are the way they are and how they are so flawed. That's all you need to know. It's a great book. You should read it. The second one comes as no surprise. It is obviously The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is my favorite book by Ashley Poston. It was the first one I've ever read by her, and it basically is a magical realism story in which a girl has inherited an apartment from her grandma. She runs into the male protagonist, but he is 7 years in the past within that same apartment, and it's just perfect. Again, the prose is so poetic. She's just such a great writer, and it just evokes such a feeling of humanity I guess, in the book and how she writes. So it's just perfect. And this will probably be no surprise as well, but it is This Summer Will Be Different. This one's by Carly Fortune. This is the second book that I read by Carly Fortune. All of her books do have like a central theme about being somewhere near the water. So whether that's a lake or the ocean, she just has a way of writing these small towns in a way that feels like you have been there before yourself. The love stories are not that complex, but they really dig into like coming of age and how it feels to grow up. This is a book that I will reread time and time again. It is just that good. Then we actually have quite an oldie but a goodie, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This one is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one is not a romance. I will just preface by saying that, but it is a story about a woman who is an old Hollywood movie star. She essentially had 7 husbands, and this is basically the story of how they came to be. And it's just written so well. It is the tale as old as time. I just think everyone needs to read this book, and it did get a lot of hype a few years ago when everyone got back into reading, but I feel like people have forgotten about this. It is such a good book, especially if you are just getting back into reading. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Now, this is a recent addition to my list of 6-star reads. I would even give this 10 stars. Like, it is that good. It's probably my favorite book I've ever read, and I know that's a huge call, but I absolutely love it, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Look how many times I have tabbed this book. It is so good. It's basically about a girl called Addie LaRue. She essentially makes a deal with the devil. It is to give her immortality. The downside of that is that she is not remembered by anybody who she comes into contact with. She then meets one person who actually does remember who she is, and the story goes on from there. Literally poetry in a book. It is that good. The writing style is amazing. I actually can't wait to read more by this author because I just feel like the way that she writes, it just seeps into my brain like no other author does. And I'm going to end the last one on a fantasy. This is a fantasy that I read last year, and I've continued the series since. It is a vampire fantasy, and that is The Serpent and the Wings